Growing up, I had dreams and aspirations, but always felt like the kid that didn't fit in. For the most part, I wasn't a bad kid, but when I made the transition into adulthood, I turned to the streets for guidance. This led to getting locked up in juvenile hall, doing time in CYA, and eventually a 120-month sentence in federal prison. I had a lot of time to think and reflect during my federal sentence, so I share with you what I learned, hoping I can positively influence someone else's life with Prison Talk.
What's up? Big Kirk 916. Get down with another fresh out Prison Talk. I dropped these videos to hopefully save some lives, and I know only a handful of people are going to actually get the message, and that's okay. At least somebody's being saved. A lot of you guys are going to do what you're going to do, learn the hard way, and it's just going to be what it is. But rapper Tay-K, I think I spoke on this before. Yeah, he just got sentenced to an additional 80 years in prison.
That while this is a lot of time, and I tell people all the time, any time that you do in custody is a lot of time. But by that same token, you're still alive. And what the state has said is true. You're still alive. You can still better yourself. If you end up in prison for the rest of your life, you're still alive. You still can improve yourself. Your family can still visit you. But the complainant in this case is deceased. And you need to internalize that the complainant in this case is deceased. And that his family is never going to see him again. So you're going to have to make changes. And you're going to have to remove people from your life who are not of benefit in the means of making you a better person. And I do understand that sometimes people will go to prison, they join gangs because you need protection, because you're there by yourself, you're young, but you're going to have to make better choices. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
So I'm going to sentence him to 80 years.
So the streets ain't no joke, man. The lifestyle ain't no joke. You have, guys rapping about it, people dancing about it on social media, bragging about it. Everybody think it's cool. Everybody thinks that there's no consequence to the actions. You take a life, oh well, that person's gone, I'm still here, and there's no consequence to it, no accountability. Well, I have to tell you, there is one. And when it comes for you, you never know how it's going to come. It could come with a crazy sentence in prison. It could come with death. It could come with your family getting hurt. It could come in a lot of ways, kidnappings, all type of stuff, man. It could be vicious. It's not just your side. There's another side of it. And most people don't think about it like that because they're in the moment. They're just living out whatever they're doing. They're not thinking about what can happen with the victim side, what can happen with their family. And even when you get to prison, it's not over with. That person has, homies that are in prison, or maybe family members, or maybe they pay somebody to take you out in prison. Rapper Tay-K, real name is Taymor McClintrey, was sentenced to a total of 135 years in prison after being convicted of murder twice in Texas. In 2019, he received a 55-year sentence for a 2016 home invasion that resulted in a death. In April 2025, he was convicted again for a separate 2017 murder and received an additional 80-year sentence. 135 years, man. Texas. The sentences for both murders will be served concurrently, meaning Tay-K will not have to serve them consecutively. However, his total time in prison will be 135 years. The jury did not find him guilty of capital murder, which would have meant life without parole, but convicted him of lesser charge of murder. The sentencing phase for the second murder charge resulted in an additional 80 years. He'll be an old man before he sees parole. He'll miss out on just a lot of things in life, man. And the judge said, you're still alive. The other person is not alive though. And so you can try to better yourself. You don't know the weight of that, man. You can try to better yourself in prison for the rest of your life. Now, you're thinking like, well, he's in prison, but he's being held accountable for his actions. And I say these things because, man, I'm so blessed. I've been in some ugly situations, man, and luckily, they weren't uglier than what they were. Or else I wouldn't be here with you. I'd be one of those dudes in prison, talking about, yeah, man, blah 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 blah, and sitting there trying to program. This shit is serious, man. They got a pipeline for you guys. And the thing is, I tell you, they can't advertise for prison. So they just show up, a bunch of shit in the algorithm. And the way your mind works, it absorbs these images, right? These visualizations, and then you hear music, and then you have friends, and then it's compounded psychosis that puts you in what I call almost like a autopilot trance. And that autopilot trance affects your thought process, affects your ability to rationale. If your parents are there telling you anything, you ignore all that, and you're just on autopilot. And you don't snap out of that until you're in one of those cages. And see, the thing about prison is cold. It's emotionless. It's dead energy. You got cinder blocks. You got bricks. There's no wood. There's no lively trees. There's no, see, when you're in an environment where you have trees, you got life form, you got bugs, you got little animals. That stuff. There's an energy with it. That's nature. There's no nature in prison. The walls are cold. It's things happen in there, and they're just sealed off. Communication, relationships are based on false realities. Everything's about survival, cutthroat, what you can get from somebody else. You're lucky to have one good or two good friends in there that you can really trust, who aren't gonna exploit your weaknesses. And it's just a bad place, man. And your grandma ain't there for you. A lot of y'all, your grandma's the one you go to outside of your mom. They got to come see you in those visiting halls if you get a visit, because these prisons are sometimes in the middle of nowhere. And you're dealing with the knuckleheads, the drama on the yard. It's a shit show, man. It's a shit show. But like I said, a lot of you guys just got to go through it, because you look at me like, OG, you talking that old shit. We don't want to hear it. But I've been in these situations, and luckily they weren't worse than what they were. And I had a good upbringing with people telling me shit, but I was in that trance. I got caught up in that trance, man. And you don't snap out of it until you're in there, and you're like, oh, you think you're dreaming. You wake up, but you're in there. It's not a dream. It's a reality. You're locked down. And then you look at, it's a party, you think, until you start thinking about those numbers. And then you see a dude in there who looks like it could be your grandpa, who been down 20, 30 years and got 50 more, 100 years. You think it's a joke? I keep telling you, it's not a joke, man. But yeah, these platforms, they promote the gang dudes. You see them on there. They're cornball dudes who got the gang member. They're doing all this stuff. And yeah, man, blah, 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 blah. And then they show you guys with guys in prison with commissary, and, they got the store in there, and they're wearing designer shoes and stuff. In prison, man, it's better to be living on the street in a cardboard box with the potential to make something happen, to be in prison caged up like an animal for some dumb shit you done did because you were out of your mind. Tay-K, man, he's not the only one. There's a bunch of them. And then a lot of guys get out and oh man, they did 30 years and they're telling war stories. And I have guys tell stories on my channel too. But hopefully there's a life lesson, because you don't need to go to prison to have a war story. Have a war story on the street about doing good. It doesn't have to be about stabbing these dudes and I was on the yard at a riot, man, and we took it down. Who gives a damn? You ain't got to go through none of that to be a man in life. You ain't got to experience, inflicting major pain on somebody in order to be a man. You ain't got to rob. You ain't got to tie nobody up. You ain't got to, have confrontation with the police to be, oh man, the culture. You ain't got to have none of that, man. Just be a square, bro. Be a square, find the skill set and do something and go for the long run. It's much better, man. There's so many beautiful places in the world, and prison is one of the ugliest places. Ugly. And not just the prison itself, the people there. Ugly. Ugly, man. Ooh, wee. Ugly, man. Dark spirits. Some of these people that committed heinous stuff. Some of these people, man, you start finding out, oh, man, they done did some stuff, and they're sitting there trying to talk to you and hang out with you, man. Dark spirits, man. Horrible. But yeah, man, it's a wrap for this youngster right here, man, unless some type of miracle. But he took somebody's life, man. And I tell you guys think like, hey, man, I didn't get caught. Well, there's no statute of limitation on murder, man. And if it's murder one, you could possibly get the death penalty. So you guys, you're playing with your lives, man. And, it's set up because they got to fill bed space. It doesn't matter the color of the skin or what you look like. They're going to fill up bed space if you get caught up doing some stupid shit. So Big Herc 916, share the channel, like, subscribe, and support, man. Because, they be doing this on the algorithm, man. Because I go against the narrative. I don't want you guys to go to prison and sit up in there and make these stockholders rich. I want you to succeed, have a family, get the hell out the ghetto, get out the hood, do something righteous with your life, man, and save your kids, man. Be a parent to your kids.